Welcome to everybody making their way into the Zoom room for our faculty panel. We're just going to wait a few more moments as the rest of the attendees find their way to us, but we're glad that you've hung on with us. We promise it's going to be worth your while. So welcome to our faculty panel. Once again, my name is Jeremy Branch. I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Enrollment Management at the campus, and I am the moderator for this faculty panel. As we get started, what we're going to do is have each of our wonderful and esteemed faculty members introduce themselves, talk a little bit about their program, and then we'll do a question and answer. I have some questions prepared, and we'll also accept your questions from the Q&A box as well. Do not be afraid to submit your questions. No one else can see it, only me and my team here. So we will address them as they come in. Your name won't be attached if you're fearful of that. But to get started, I'd like to have Professor Olear introduce herself and talk a little bit about her program.
Good morning. I am the program coordinator for business and for project and supply chain management. Students can get through these degree programs using 4 years at the Brandywine campus. For business majors, they could do the 2+2 program, which is 2 years at our Brandywine campus and then 2 years at University Park. Within business, there's choices of options such as accounting, management, and marketing. And project and supply chain is our newest standalone major that's very closely related to business and incorporates 2 different areas of specialty within this degree, the project management and the supply chain management side, which maybe I'll get a chance to talk about a little bit later. But welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Professor Olear. Dr. Susan Fredricks.
Hello, everyone. Just so you all know, Jeremy was a student of mine, so that's how young I am. So I am Dr. Susan Fredricks. I am in charge of the communications program, but I also have my feet in the communication arts and sciences. So we have 2 different communication programs on our campus. One is business focus, which is our communications degree with a corporate communications option. And that's about public relations and has a little bit of marketing and things along that line, special events. And we have a communication arts and sciences degree, which is about how people communicate within different structures. So you have the option of picking 2 different degrees depending upon what you are looking for with your career. Both of them do have an internship opportunity, which we highly recommend. One is required, and so we do recommend that you do an internship because that's a phenomenal way for you to step into your career. So, and with that, I will turn it back to Jeremy.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Fredricks. Robin Stokes.
Good morning. I'm Robin Stokes, and I'm the Director of our Advising and Career Services Office. I head up the exploratory arm of Penn State at Brandywine for students who are thinking about, I know I want to be in college, I want to be at Penn State, I want to be at Brandywine, but I'm not sure what majors are available, and I have so many different interests. I also head up all the career servicing, career planning opportunities on campus, and we also coordinate the academic portion of new student orientation when students apply. Welcome.
Thank you, Robin. Dr. G, as we affectionately call her on campus, Dr. Guertin.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Laura Guertin. If you can't tell by my background image, I am an oceanographer, specialize in marine geology and geophysics. I am the campus representative for the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences at Penn State University. So for students that might be interested in degree programs in meteorology, energy engineering, earth science, and policy, they'll do their first 2 years here at Brandywine with myself and my colleagues, and then head on up to University Park. Or for students that are interested in earth and environmental sciences but want to stay at Brandywine, I mentor them to complete some of our other minor and certificate programs in environmental inquiry. I'm working with some business majors now that are pursuing our Earth Sustainability Certificate. There's so many ways where students can match their interests and pair them with science and communications or science and business. And it's just really exciting to work with students to be able to work with Robin as well and help them find their areas of interest where they can pursue these multidisciplinary studies.
Thank you, Dr. G. And we'll be talking more about that environmental inquiry as we go along in our faculty panel. So we thank you. Patricia Hillen, Professor Hillen.
Good morning, everyone. Good to be here. Welcome to Brandywine. Yes, my name is Patricia Hillen, and I teach English and American Studies. I also am the Assistant Director of Academic Affairs, so my office coordinates a lot of the programming, a lot of new programming that comes on campus. I also want to talk about the fact that we have liberal arts degrees. So we have a 4-year English degree, a 4-year American Studies degree, as well as letters, arts, and sciences. Sorry, that's my dog. Letters, arts, and sciences, which is a tailor-made degree. So you can come in with 60 credits and we can work with you. I work with you, and we package it, as Dr. Guertin said, with different minors, such as the GLIS minor, which is Global International Studies, which if I have a chance later, I'll talk about global programs as well, big passion of mine. And that's it for now. Thanks.
No problem. That's what the dog wanted to recommend to us, the global programs. We'll talk about that more moving forward. Dr. Maria Evans.
Hi, good morning. I am a engineering professor at Brandywine, and I'm also, here comes my cat to join the party. I am also a proud Penn State graduate of the Aerospace Engineering Department, and I also started at one of the Commonwealth campuses. We teach, we offer engineering for all the different disciplines covered by the College of Engineering that you can start at Penn State Brandywine and finish at another campus if that's the destination and the major that you're inclined to choose. We also have a 4-year engineering major that you can complete completely at Brandywine, which is the multidisciplinary engineering design option. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about that later.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Evans. Dr. Ye.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Martin Ye. I'm an assistant professor of information sciences and technology. So under the College of IST, that's how we call it, you can complete 2 majors at Brandywine. One is IST, the other one is what we call SciOp, basically cybersecurity. And for those of you who are interested in 2+2, which is to complete 2 years at Brandywine and 2 years at University Park, you can get SRA, which is security risk analysis, and data science, which is to play with a lot of data and to visualize those data to get meaning out of it. And then there's also ETI, enterprise technology integration, and HCDD, which is human-centered design and development. I know there's a lot of programs, but it also means there are a lot of opportunities for you to explore this major. And basically anything you can think about technology, applied computer science, you can find a place in IST. Welcome.
Dr. Ye. We look forward to talking more about those programs moving forward. Dr. Marinda Kathryn Harrell-Levy.
Hey, Jeremy. I'm excited to be here. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I am a professor of human development and family studies. A lot of my students go into careers like childcare services or therapy or family life education. Many work in hospitals or businesses. Some even become lawyers. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity to talk to you all today and encourage you all to do wonderful things with your lives, because I, in addition to being a human development and family studies person, am an adolescent development researcher. So your age, your focus, your interests are always important to me. I'm always excited to engage with you. And I think Penn State Brandywine is a great space and place to explore identities and figuring out who you want to be for the rest of your life. So that's a fun conversation for me. It's an essential one for you. And I'm so happy to be here on the panel today.
Thank you, Dr. Harrell-Levy. Last but certainly not least, Dr. Christine Brown.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here today to speak with you. I want to welcome you all to our Penn State community. I am also a proud Penn State alum. I got my undergraduate degree in psychology with a minor in human development and family studies from Penn State. And currently what I do, I'm an associate teaching professor where I work with students. I teach in literacy education and in American studies. So I teach a couple introductory classes. So I'm hopefully have some of you in my classes where I work with you next year. I also am the person who on this campus who I coordinate the services of Brandywine Learning Center. So just to let you know, we have a really strong, robust support system, and we can help you with any of your classes. There's professional and peer tutors for any course that you might need some assistance with. So that's something that's out there for you. And the other thing finally that I do is I work with our peer mentoring program. And for those of you wondering, you come to a new place and you have so many questions and you don't know where to go, we have, and we're expanding as we speak, a peer mentoring program so that college students, Penn State Brandywine students who are already here are going to be working to get ready to greet you and help answer your questions next fall. So that's, and I'll have some more to say about that, but thank you, Jeremy.
No problem. So we're going to get underway with a few questions that I have designated to ask our faculty panel. And once again, attendees, feel free to add your questions to our Q&A box as we go along so we can get them answered as well. But I wanted to turn my attention to Professor Hillen, especially because sometimes I talk to students and they are questioning possibly the value of a liberal arts education, right? We know that's come under some scrutiny nationally for unfounded reasons, but from your vantage point, dedicating so much of your life to this area, to these disciplines, English especially, why should a student in 2020 seriously consider majoring in one of the liberal arts programs that we offer?
Sure, thanks, Jeremy. Well, overall, overarching, I mean, a liberal arts education kind of gives you everything that you need, right? You need good communication skills, you need overall good writing skills. And it's important to be able to know about the humanities and the social sciences and the natural sciences all together. It gives you a broader view. We see less and less of these kinds of degrees coming up in our new programs, but we're proud of the fact here at Brandywine that we can keep an English major and which actually has a creative writing option. So we harness a lot of the qualities of our really good faculty who have expertise in these things, in the arts and in political science. Now I'm going off somewhere else, but even anthropology, our faculty are fantastic. The ones that may not be connected to a four-year program on our campus, but yet can give you the value of a really strong liberal arts education. And with the English degree and the American Studies degree, our students typically go to grad school. We follow them and we create pathways for them. And even though we may not have required internships in these programs, we still deliver good internships for our students so that they can connect to the community and work with them to get to grad school. I think that our students who participate in these programs also are a lot of our honor students and our students who, you know, value language and value international studies and want to move on. Even if they've, you know, tried some other programs, it's nice that Brandywine has these foundational liberal arts programs and courses. And a lot of them are tied to our minors as well. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. I agree with you. I really jostle between English because I love that critical thinking piece that you get out of that program, but corporate communications won me over in that wrestling. And so I want to direct my next question to Dr. Fredricks. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why a student would think about something like corporate communications. Communications as a whole, we find a lot of times at colleges and universities is almost a discovery major, but I don't think that should be the case. I want more students to think about it coming out the gate. So if I'm a prospective student sitting on the Zoom right now, why is corporate communications something that I should strongly consider?
Corporate communications combines the healthy liberal arts, but it provides that focus. So we all know that we will work for an organization sometime in our life. And the ability to communicate for that organization and within that organization is a quintessential key factor. Even in business, in HCFS, when you work for any type of corporation, you have to know how to talk to your employees, your supervisors, and that's what the communication degree gives you. It gives you that opportunity to learn how to talk amongst employees, your colleagues, while also being able to talk externally to your different audiences. Say, for example, that you want to work for a major pharmaceutical company. Well, not only understanding how the technology works, but you have to be able to then represent and sell the product to doctors. So you have to know your audience and understand how you're going to communicate that. Communication, I always say, is the a priori skill that everybody needs to have in the world, because we don't live in an isolated bubble. We don't live by ourselves. We live with other people. We live with other beings, even pets. So even when you see like, what is he called? He's called the dog whisperer or horse whisperer. It's all about communication. So if you have any inkling, any idea of working within an organization where you want to go and learn more about how to communicate, you want to learn how to talk, how to think, how to focus outside of the organization, that's when you need the communication degree, because it incorporates a whole variety of skills, including the sciences, including IST, including business. So you get a good breadth, and then it provides you with that opportunity to succeed while you're in that organization.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on all those points. And I think this is especially pertinent to students now because we know communication styles are changing so much. And, that text speak only gets us so far. At a certain point in time, our company organization is not going to entrust us with the ability to communicate to big clients, right? If we don't communicate effectively. In fact, many of the students attending the panel right now might be familiar with my story that I once called a professor dude in my freshman year on campus, and I was strongly corrected there. That was Dr. Fredricks. Just so you now have a face with the name, all right? So she got that out of me, and I appreciate that so much. So Dr. Maria Evans, I want to talk to you a little bit because our campus is unique for a lot of reasons, but one of them is having that multidisciplinary design engineering program at our campus. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that and even how that came about? Was this just a program we slapped together, or did we talk to industry about the needs that they had?
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. That's a great question. We are unique. We're one of the campuses that holds a degree through the College of Engineering. That's a Bachelor of Science in Engineering with a specialty in multidisciplinary engineering design. And multidisciplinary is a pretty hot term right now in engineering. What companies have come to realize is that people don't necessarily need to be specialists in a particular area to be a good engineer. Having a breadth of experience across disciplines is a really powerful background. And then our focus is also on design. And so that brings us into a lot of local industries, and the local industries here play a pretty significant role in our program. We have an industrial advisory panel made up of 10 industry members that are very tightly involved in our program and in evaluating our curriculum and providing internship opportunities and employment opportunities post-graduation. And so we really maintain a tight relationship with industry to make sure that we're delivering the background for students so that they can move out into industry positions and be tremendously successful. So we're in a unique position that that you can finish a 4-year engineering degree within the College of Engineering at Penn State, which is a tremendous background. We're an ABET accredited institution, which is a pretty important thing when you're looking at engineering programs. And we're in a unique position that you can complete that degree in a really small environment and a very active hands-on environment. Our program is very active. Our students spend a lot of time in the lab on the laser and the water jet and the CNC mill, and they get exposure to hands-on design, applied design. So it's a great program. I'm happy to talk to anybody more about it.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. And that's a story that always comes back to my mind when the ABET accreditation folks came through our lab. They were extremely impressed and made recommendations to our University Park campus of how they can come in line to the resources we have here. So wonderful, wonderful stuff to talk about and feature in our program. Now, speaking about hands-on, this is something that Dr. Guertin's been known for with her students over the years. There's a lot of immersion, I feel, that happens within your program and the mentoring that you do with your students where they get to kind of put into application very early what they're learning in the classroom. Can you talk to us more about why that's such a key part of the way that you instruct with your students, and why that environmental inquiry minor is something that students should really think about?
So to address the first part of your question, Jeremy, and I appreciate asking more about the hands-on learning that we do. And it's not just in my earth science classes. I think all students should know that it's happening across our entire campus at Penn State Brandywine. So we do not subscribe to the idea of the sage on the stage, if you've heard that phrase before. So a sage on the stage is someone that stands in front of the classroom and I talk, you listen, you take all the notes, and it's very me versus you. At Brandywine, we're very much more of the mindset of we're the guide on the side. So we are there with you, roaming around the classroom. We are interacting with you. We have you dividing into teams. We have a lot of active learning going on. And because I teach earth science classes, I get my students outside. We've got amazing campus grounds. We've got water that runs through our campus. We've got trees. We've got Tyler Arboretum and Ridley Creek State Park across the street. And we even have a cemetery across the street that I've taken my students to as well, where we do look at weathering race of tombstones and looking at rock types. And so it's amazing the immersion you can get, whether you participate in one of our global program trips that goes abroad, or if you stay local. We actually have you out in the community and engaging. And that's one of those high impact practices of higher education, is just being able to get hands-on, whether it be a formal internship experience, undergraduate experience, or just in the regular classrooms. And so the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 50-minute class periods might be on your schedule, but it is so much more than you just sitting there and just letting everything being thrown at you. We engage. And so to spring off of that in terms of what's going on with environmental inquiry, maybe you've heard there's some changes going on our planet, in our environment. And what's wonderful about the design of, and I'm also going to throw in the Earth Sustainability Certificate, because that's gaining a lot of momentum on campus too, is just thinking about what's going on in our environment around us. And again, that interdisciplinary nature we keep talking about, whether it's business, whether it's communications, whether it is writing or art or design and technology. All of those are going to get us to the solutions that we need. And as scientists, we're not necessarily the best communicators. We can talk to other scientists, but we need people that come through Dr. Fredricks' program to help us be able to get the word out. We need people in Professor Olear's program to help us put into play, how do we take those actions and move things forward? So these kind of adding on a minor and a certificate to your major degree allows you to really explore beyond the silo of your particular discipline, and helps us make the changes we want to see in society, for our communities, whether it be local, national, or global.
Well said, Dr. G. Thank you so much. And you made a nice segue to Professor Olear, because I wanted to talk to her more about supply chain. I think I talked about this in my admission presentation this morning, but a lot of us who never really thought about supply chain before began thinking about it heavily in March, when we couldn't secure toilet paper or paper towels or tie-dye and basic necessities because of the disruption in the supply chain. So why is this the perfect time for prospective students to really look at our project and supply chain management program?
Okay, thanks so much, Jeremy. I appreciate this. Yeah, for many folks that didn't realize or know what supply chain was, we started hearing more and more about this in the news. So one good thing about the pandemic, if there are any good things, one good thing is that a lot of these companies realize that they don't have a diverse enough supply chain. And this was on the news, and now everybody else is starting to become aware of what a supply chain actually is, because a lot of people don't know what supply chain is. So with project and supply chain management, this major captures two main areas of business practice. So it's project management and supply chain management. On the project management side, this is where we're going to coordinate many different activities, and because there's many moving parts associated with a project. And it could be a project such as new product development or facilities construction, or it could be along the lines of a smaller project. But this project could involve people within the company. It could also involve several people not even in the company. So somebody has to coordinate all this, and it's a big job. On the supply chain side, supply chain management is related to the sourcing and purchasing side of the business. Where are we getting all of our components from? And such as our raw materials, and how are we getting them to where we need them at the factory at the right time to produce the product. And then we need to learn how to pull value throughout that supply chain. So we've seen the issues in the supply chain where if one component of the product we can't get because that area of the country or that area of the world is suffering from a pandemic, or a tsunami hit that factory, or there's civil unrest. We need to know, okay, what's our plan B supplier? Our plan A supplier is out for whatever reason. What do we have a plan B supplier? Do we have a plan C supplier? Do we have a plan D supplier? And related to that, these corporations need to have some responsibility related to how their products are being produced, right? Are they being produced using fair labor laws, or are other people in other countries being unfairly taken advantage of to produce the products that we are purchasing? And right now, we don't really have a lot of information about how our products are being produced. Or are they being friendly also to the earth and to the environment? Or are they being produced in factories that are emitting excessive toxins into the air? So definitely, as a lot of my colleagues have been mentioning, it's a multidisciplinary kind of major where you're going to want to bring in minors and certificates related to where you want to take it. That's what's very nice about project and supply chain management. It allows one to look at it from many different angles. So a student is able to focus on their passions, whether that is learning more about international cultures, sustainability, standing up for human rights. They could tap into minors such as, the earth and sustainability, environmental inquiry, international studies, English. As Professor Hillen mentioned, you have to be able to communicate with a lot of different people in this major. Or also security and risk analysis. We know that corporations are more and more concerned about data breaches at their suppliers, right? Because if a small supplier gets into trouble, right, or it's found out that a small supplier is found using abusive labor practices, the small supplier is not going to be on the news. It's going to be Nike on the news, right? So these companies have to be make sure they're being ethical because it's the right thing to do, but also because it could impact sales. So I think we're going to see more and more consumers are going to vote with their dollar, and they're going to say, we want some transparency here. How are our products being made, and how, company, are you going to ensure us that they're being made in a sustainable way, and that everyone in this supply chain, all the employees, are being treated and being compensated fairly? So that's what I think is so great about this. Another thing that I think is so great too is it allows the students to focus on different areas of strength. So if they want to focus on their communication skills, they could be more on the edge of, coordinating and communicating with the different suppliers, communicating with logistic, trucking, communicating with warehouses, communicating with the retail organizations. Or they could focus on, their organization skills. Then they might be better in an area of organizing the warehouse, organizing the inventory, or an inventory manager. Or they could focus on their leadership, because we know there's management all along this supply chain. Or they could focus on their detail-oriented skills, or they could focus on creativity, because companies are going to have to be creative. They're going to have to come up with creative solutions where they're going to be doing things like using recycled materials in packaging for products. Not only will they save money, but they're going to be able to put a label on that product that says, this product is made with recycled materials. And a lot of consumers are going to pick that product before the product next to it that's full of styrofoam and plastic packaging. So there's a lot of room here for people to apply their passions and their skills in many different areas within this major.
Thank you. Very comprehensive. And I think a lot of our students are seriously going to consider that being on the front line of solving a lot of those problems is pretty exciting. I'm about to enroll, so we appreciate that, Professor Olear. Now, I want to talk to Dr. Marinda Harrell-Levy, because you were actually, your ears might have been burning the other day, but Robin Stokes and I were talking about undergraduate research and how two students who are advisees of Robin Stokes are now working with you on some undergraduate research opportunities. We at Penn State, we're known for this, right? But a question I get from a lot of students is, how in the world do I do it? I know that you have it, but how do I work with a faculty member to participate in undergraduate research? Can you talk to us a little bit about how you work with your students through that and why it's something that students need to consider doing undergraduate research while they're with us at Penn State Brandywine?
Yeah, certainly. I'm always excited to talk to students about research, potential students, current students, future students. But I don't know what you've heard so far today, Jeremy, but from my perspective, a lot of what I've heard from this conversation is how exciting an opportunity it is to get a world-class education on a small campus. And I think that is the unique beauty of a school like Penn State Brandywine. I don't think this was accessible to me, for instance, coming through when I was trying to figure out, well, listen, there are ideas that excite me and there are people who are leading on key issues in the world, and I want to be in their classes, learning from them. And I ended up finding institutions that didn't kind of fulfill my other need, which was to form relationships, right? And to cultivate relationships with teachers. It's so difficult to be able to kind of work with researchers who are actually teaching their own classes, who are leading in their fields. It's an amazing opportunity. And I think what attracted me to Brandywine as an employee, as a person who was a new young professional, not as young anymore. I just had a birthday, matter of fact, this weekend. And a new professional trying to kind of really craft my career. I love the opportunity of a Penn State Brandywine, where these are absolutely experts in their field that are leading the way, published in high ranking journals, but also experts in the classroom. They're teaching with authority, they're teaching with compassion, they're being incredibly creative and thought provoking. And then finally, what you said, then they extend to you the opportunity to engage in that research, which is something that I think when we're younger, we may take for granted, right? Like, it's amazing when you think about the potential of recommendation letters, but also just the ideas being disseminated down to you because you got to work directly with the person who was in the research in the field. So I'm excited. When I engage with my students, and one of the projects we're doing now is a project in a local school district where we're doing kind of trauma-informed education. And just a little bit about my background, Jeremy. I came up as an undergraduate student in sociology and political science. Then I went and taught high school for a little bit, and I was really excited about kind of making a difference. And then I saw the barriers and the structural barriers to the goals and outcomes that these schools in the inner city really wanted to achieve. And I said, I want to go back to graduate school and try to tackle these issues in a different way. And the reason I found Human Development and Family Studies as a program is because it's the study of how people develop physically, emotionally, and socially. And it does it within a larger context of society, but also within that narrower context of family. And it does it in an interdisciplinary way. So all of a sudden, my sociology background, my political science background, and my fierce interest in protecting and helping adolescents could come together. And this is a program that I hope a lot of students stumble upon, because at first I thought that I had to choose between psychology and sociology. I always thought it was a choice until I found Human Development and Family Studies. And the research that I do then takes that interdisciplinary perspective, but it also takes the other perspective of our program, which is applied. Right? How do we get the information and make it useful to our local communities, right? How do I get not doing research for research's sake, but how do I kind of come across research that can actually make a meaningful difference in the lives of the people I care about? So it's a fascinating career to have, and it's a fascinating opportunity for my students who get to work with me side by side. And then I get to bring the same information back into my classroom for the students who don't get to work with me. My most, I guess, my first big accomplishment when I was working with a student was when she was published in a high-ranking, peer-reviewed, top-tier journal. And when she got that authorship, she didn't even know fully how much it had changed her life. And all of a sudden, she was talking to me about graduate schools. And I said, wait a minute now. We're going to change our trajectory. We're going to think about our goals in terms of our experiences. You are a published author. And it really hit her, and her eyes opened up, and she said, you're telling me I can apply here? I said, you have great recommendations. You have a great GPA. You have formed wonderful relationships with your teachers, and you're a published author. And so research at a school like Penn State is a fascinating and important opportunity. And I'm glad to extend it to my students. And I'm glad to be able to give them things that I don't think I necessarily had access to at their age. And so, yes, I'm excited to do it. I think it's important. I love my program because it allows me to put my hands in a lot of different pots that are interesting to me. And I'm fascinated by my students and how they engage and learn and what they take with them so that they're so much better prepared at the next level than I could have ever imagined I could have been at their age. So I'm glad you're talking about it. Keep talking about it. And not just my study, all of our studies, because we are all doing it. And I think that's what's wonderful about a Penn State Brandywine.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that was one of the things that became paramount when I was a student in my freshman year. You're learning from these folks who are respected in their discipline, in their field, and they're in the classroom with you, because a lot of those famous faculty that you'll see in this article or in this journal, they're never in the classroom. I talked to some of my admissions colleagues at other universities, and they're like, yeah, you never see him on campus. You never see her outside of the lab. And so to have the best of both worlds in that way on our campus is outstanding for our students. So we appreciate that, Dr. Levy. Now I want to turn my attention to Dr. Ye, especially because you're also in a realm with a new program that's come online, right? So we've had information sciences and technology for a long time. It's a wonderful program, but now we're offering this cybersecurity discipline at our campus as well. Can you talk to me about how you work with students to navigate which of those programs is really the right fit for them? You've been known for this throughout your career. You've committed much of your life to helping students find their path within information sciences and technology. So how can you work with students to help them delineate between information sciences and technology and then our cybersecurity option?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, in terms of the students we got, some of them actually came to us saying, I want cybersecurity. The reason being that it is so common, you will see on the internet or on the news saying, this big company has been hacked. All of the East Coast doesn't have Twitter for the next 12 hours and everyone is screaming, right? So they know this is an issue. So for those of students, we just tell them what they are going to take in terms of getting a degree from cybersecurity. For students who are not sure, they want to know how to use technology information to be a leader in digital world. We talk to them about there are so many applications you can do in this area. What do you have any specific in mind? Some people say, oh, I'm fascinated by say machine learning or AI. And so we will tell them, if that is the case, you may want to look at, say, data science or IST. And some of them says, I'm really interested in helping big corporation to secure their data or make sure that they don't get this bad publicity. And so that would be a hint for us, say, you really should look at cybersecurity because you're going to be trained and you will know how to do digital forensics and protect their data. These are the policies and so on. So that's basically how I would approach in terms of the to guide them to more specific areas in IST or PsyOp or cybersecurity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ye. It's nice for our students to know they get that type of support and guidance once they're within the university. Now, speaking of support and guidance, the next two people I'm going to talk to are really so influential in those areas on our campus. And I'm going to start with Robin Stokes, who works in our advising space and oversees career services. There are many students attending this panel right now who have a pretty good idea of what they want to do. And then there's the other portion that are lying about knowing what they want to do. I was one of those students, right? I went just saying to anybody who would listen, it's going to be business, but it was because I didn't know, right? And I felt ashamed by not knowing. So we at Penn State have a pathway called the Division of Undergraduate Studies. So can you talk to us about why that might be a good fit for some students and how you work with them to actually find a major?
So I think when we look at the data that we get after new student orientation, we look at that data and we see that over 80% of students indicate some level, like Jeremy's alluding to, some level of uncertainty when they come in through orientation. Even though they've met with people, they've met with faculty, they've met with staff, and they might say, I'm in business because my parents think business is the only way for me to be successful, to make a lot of money, and that's a lie. So the Division of Undergraduate Studies allows you, and for parents there, I want to make clear we guarantee we will not let your kids graduate undecided. By faculty senate requirement, students have a maximum of 4 semesters, their first 2 years, where they must explore majors and go through the entrance to major requirement, because you're not admitted to a major. When you apply, you're admitted to an academic college or a unit like DUS. And you have 4 semesters to explore all the things that you're hearing about this morning. To take courses, like part of your degree is about 120 credits. And if you divide that into 4 years, you're looking at about 30 credits a year. And each semester, you're looking at about 15 credits a semester. And part of your course is in the major, but then you also have your gen eds, what I call your meat potatoes, that every student has to have to graduate, right? Your freshman composition, public speaking, your arts, your sciences, your humanities, your social sciences, health and wellness, interdomain classes. And the selection that you make for those general education credits, always see your academic advisor. So you're making really good strategic decisions about, what do I want to learn about? Do I want to take adolescent development, because I really heard awesome things about Dr. Harrell-Levy? Do I want to take an earth class because you want to learn about science and technology, and you want to figure out I don't know yet, but how can I impact the earth? And even if you change your mind, let's say you start going towards a direction and you think, gosh, I like those courses, and then you get stuck and you think, can I backtrack? Can I look at something else? The courses you take in your general education requirements are designed to be broadly applicable no matter what degree you have to have. So every student has to have 2 credits of art and creative expression, whether you're an engineering major, you're a humanities major, or you're an art major. Every student has to have scientific inquiry, some skills to be able to do that, because when you graduate from Penn State, you're not going to be working in a vacuum. You'll be a family member, you'll be maybe a homeowner or a parent, or engaged in your community in some fashion. So taking those courses, those really good general education that give you the foundation of your college education, are really part of the linchpin to help you make some decisions about what directions you want to explore. But also, and this is picking up on what Professor Olear was saying, is paying attention to what makes you passionate and what skill sets you have. So there's a recent news article on our website about our pantry for students who have food insecurity. If I'm interested in giving back or connecting students with resources, you can do that as early as your first year. You don't have to wait until your senior year to think, oh, I have to do a resume. In fact, that's almost too late. You want to be strategic about what summer jobs can I consider in the summer of 21? Do I want to consider a gig versus which is a short-term project? So if I'm in the IT class with Dr. Ye and I'm thinking about supply chain, do I want to be part of a marketing course that creates a solution for a problem that our faculty have identified in the community to bridge that gap between what I'm doing on campus in theory and what I'm doing practicality, and add that to your resume. And so we are one of, I think, 6 campuses that combine the Division of Undergraduate Studies with career planning in one office to help you to focus your attention earlier rather than waiting until your senior year to start thinking about, how do I collect and write down my career planning opportunities each semester? And so you have a plan. And the more you're able to articulate that plan, if you make course corrections, that's fine. But we want to make sure that you're thinking about that early. And I just had one of my first semester students say, is it too early for me to think about an internship? No. The more information that you can, the more practical information that you can connect with your what you're learning in class allows you to make better informed decisions about what you want to do next year. And just to make a plug for academic advising, Penn State's big. We are complex. It's easy to get lost if you're doing things on your own. So when you think about going to college, you need to see your advisor at least once a semester. And you want to think about around Halloween and then around April Fool's Day, at least once a semester, and use those bookends to start planning courses and your educational plans for next semester as part of a overarching career goal, because you need to think about, what do I want to do? Can I envision what my life is going to look like after I graduate versus I'm going to take a class, tell me what next I need to take. Plan with the end in mind, and then select your courses to meet that goal. And there's plenty of people on this panel to talk to you about what your goals might want to look like. Thanks, Jeremy.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we're going to turn our attention to Dr. Christine Brown. Because as I mentioned, you're a really key player on our campus and coordinator of our Brandywine Learning Center, which is one of the first places I had to use when I transitioned into college. I placed a bet with one of my friends at orientation that I wouldn't spend one day in there, and I was in within 2 weeks in the Brandywine Learning Center. And it's actually one of my favorite things to do when we're on campus and I walk into the Viro Library, seeing how many students take advantage of it. So why is that an area that students need to acclimate themselves with as they get on the campus, and what type of support is provided through the Brandywine Learning Center?
All right, well, thanks, Jeremy. So we, again, as I said earlier, we have a lot of support on our campus. And this is a little bit different from what you might have in high school, where you think someone who's struggling needs this support, right? And again, we offer this for students who are struggling, but this is at our campus, many students take advantage of our support to just understand what to do and how to do better in their coursework. People have been telling you probably for the past couple years, and if you're a senior, you're hearing it more and more, college is going to be harder. It's going to be a lot more difficult, right? You're going to have to study a lot harder. And you've probably started to think about that and maybe worry about it a little bit. And I want to let you know that we have some answers here in terms of what that is, because while you might know on one hand that you need to study harder, it's often difficult to know, well, what exactly does that mean, right? What are the strategies and things that I need to know in order to be successful in my math class or in my history class or in a class that requires a lot of writing? And one of the things that sets us apart at our campus is that not only we have staff that are committed and passionate about learning and about helping. And those two things go together. So they want to learn a lot about the world. They're very curious. So if you come to them with a project about the oceans, they want to listen and talk those ideas out with you. If you are struggling to write up that lab report in biology, well, you need to understand and be curious about biology and also have some writing skills. So there's a lot of strength and support among the people that can help you here. And so we don't expect you to know how to, understand everything that you are being taught. We are here to help you with that process. We also know that it's often colleges where you have to learn a lot more independently. And we also know that this year is your senior year is not exactly how you thought it was going to be, right? You're probably doing your in-person, some days you're online. And we know within that confusion that it's often difficult and a challenge to manage all those things. That's something we can help you here with our academic support that we have and our tutoring that we have offering you, helping you keep on track with all of the things that you have to do and understand what that looks like, because you're going to be asked to think independently. You're hearing how we're all teaching you how to think critically. We are here and your partners to help you with that. And we look forward to seeing you and helping you with that in Viro.
Oh, absolutely. Students take advantage of it as early and often. That Brandywine Learning Center always reminds me of that old adage that the smartest or most successful people in the world don't necessarily have the highest IQ. They just know how to find information, right? And leverage relationships to help them find the answers. And so we feel very strongly about that on our campus and look forward to seeing all of you students in the Brandywine Learning Center over the years ahead. Are there any questions, my dear friend Claire, from the Q&A box that we need to address as a panel before we head to our next session?
Thanks, Jeremy. And thank you. It was so great to hear right from the folks who are instructing our students and just how excited they are about, how successful their students are and about their content. I may have missed this one going around, but somebody has asked, what is your favorite thing about being a Penn Stater, about working for Penn State and being at the Brandywine campus?
Can I
Take your question, or
who can respond?
If I may, because I'm still young and I'm still excited. I hope to feel this way 20 years from now. But what I will say is that I work with some of the most highly qualified professionals in their fields. And it is a pleasure to constantly be learning from them, inspired by them, and wanting to do better and more for myself. I never wanted to be complacent, and I wanted to come to a place that was going to challenge me. And their research, their teaching, their dedication, their perseverance is always inspiring me to be better. And that's an exciting opportunity that Penn State Brandywine provides for me and that we get to provide for our students.
something I want to add is the collegiality I think we all have amongst faculty and staff. If I have an issue with a student, I can call Chris, I can call Maria, I can call Marinda, I can call anybody or email them, and we work together. And I think with Robin's help and with admissions help, I don't think you'll find a better place where as a student, you can interact with faculty and staff and know that they are there to help you and to work with you. And I think that's one of the phenomenal things about Penn State Brandywine is that we know each other and we work together, and we work together on your behalf.
And I'd like to add, if I can, that I really appreciate the opportunity that we get as faculty to really get to know you, our students, and really at such a level that we can help you in ways that we couldn't do if we were at a larger university or a larger campus. What I find really remarkable is that I still have Zooms almost weekly with students that are down at University Park now, and they still want to reach out and talk to me and fill me in on what's going on. And I love that. I love being able to get to know our students in ways we couldn't in a bigger place.
If I could just add two things. Just to be able to watch students and work with you and to be with you on day one. And like Robin said, you might not know what you want to do, but we help you, we guide you, and we get to know your strengths and your weaknesses, and we will direct you and work with each other to make sure that you're on the path that's best for you. And to watch you cross the stage at graduation, at commencement, is just one of the thrills of my life, to work with students for 4, maybe 5, maybe a little bit longer years, but you finally get there. And also to that point, working with students abroad. See, Jeremy, I'm getting in my global plug here. It is so fascinating to me to work with our global programs. I've been working with them for, 15 plus years. The program's 20 plus years. We have a very strong campus. We were the first big study abroad trips are embedded into our Thanksgiving break and our spring break. And you take the course pre-travel, post-travel. But while we're abroad, while we are feet on the ground, brick and mortar, it's just amazing to watch you depart from the domestic airport and travel abroad. And when you're coming home, you have this swagger about you, like you're some world traveler, and you are. And of course, we're paused on travel right now, and that's unfortunate. But you should know that the committee, we are working hard to get our program back, and we're working on our study abroad to Ghana, and future probably pick up our Vienna Budapest trip again. But right now I'm co-teaching a class, GLIS 101N, with Dr. Green, an anthropologist and ethnomusicologist, and Dr. Phillips, who teaches communications, CAS. And we are ready to take students abroad again. And it's just so much fun to talk about getting a minor. One last thing, the GLIS minor is just one of those minors that goes with absolutely any degree, every degree on our campus. And it's a joy to promote that to students, to get them to be global citizens and to get you out there and do good work. Thank you.
Can I just say too, I have had the pleasure of having participating in mock interviews last week for our HDFS majors. And it's just a joy to see you in your hoodies at orientation, and then to see you in your suits on a mock interview, even on Zoom. It is such an incredible joy to see our students start off an orientation at Brandywine. And they might think 2 + 2, they might think I want maybe a Brandywine degree, but to see you at the end, getting ready to launch your career, is just such a joy. That's my biggest takeaway today. I miss that. I every time I think, am I going to participate in mock interviews? And then I get all excited about it because you are showing us what you have learned how to do. It's just great.
Can I also add something quickly? Well, this is coming from my experience. I taught 6 years at University Park, and now I'm at Brandywine. So I think I can speak loudly the huge difference as a faculty member at 2 different locations. When I was at University Park, students, after the class, they will come to me and say, "Hey, Dr. Ye, can you write me a recommendation letter?" Sometimes, I'm not always, sometimes I'll say, Who are you? Because I taught 150 students per section. I don't get to know every one of them, but now that I teach at Brandywine, students will simply send me an email, say, Dr. Ye, can you write me a recommendation letter? I say, yeah, I'll give it to you in a week, because I know them, I talk to them, I even know their schedule. Just on Thursday night, I call a student at 11 p.m. The reason I call him is because I think the question is important, and he has been calling me at 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. So I know his schedule. And so I sort of troll him by calling him at 11 p.m. and say, hey, I think this is important. Let's work on this and fix it. So it took us 40 minutes doing video conferencing, solve the problem. And I think he was happy, and I'm happy as well, because I know his problem is solved. But I wouldn't do that at University Park, because I really don't know them to that level. Okay. Another thing I also want to point out is a lot of times students or parents feel like because we are a different campus and we are a subset of University Park, meaning whatever we have, University Park has. It's not always true. We have a lot of things that University Park doesn't have. For example, in IST, we have a next-gen lab. This is in the US, there's less than 10 next-gen lab. And at the entire Penn State system, Brandywine is the only campus that has next-gen lab. So I just want to point that out so that you know it's where you students can strive, not it has to go to a certain place. It's where you can be successful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, faculty. That was a great ending, Martin. I think it really shows that we are a family at Penn State Brandywine, and we really are. And it is a wonderful place. I'm going to be ending this session now. And then for the participants that are heading off to our wonderful next session with our student panel, and you're going to get to really see the campus. You're going to take a virtual tour with our tour guides. It's going to be amazing. So definitely jump on. We'll be starting that in 2 minutes. Thank you all.